Are here on the Bay Street ERN. Could I see some hands? I think we have a pretty full house on this, so I'm going to move that up in front of the public hearing. This is administrative item 7A. It's a resolution of the Emeryville Redevelopment Agency authorizing the executive director.
Actually, it's B.
B. Oh, South Bayfront Redevelopment Project. Helen?
Good evening, Chair, Agency Board members. This evening, you're considering two proposals. The first is the Sixth Amendment to the exclusive right to negotiate agreement with Madison Bay Street, LLC, to develop a mixed-use project at the South Bayfront sites A and B. And the second is the 15th implementation agreement to the disposition and development agreement, 15th implementation agreement to the disposition and development agreement between the Emeryville Redevelopment Agency and Bay Street Partners. So starting off with Site B, just to provide some background, some of this is a little summary from what we went over at the study session at our last meeting. It's 3-acre vacant site bounded by Shellmound Street, Powell Street, Union Pacific Railroad tracks, and the undeveloped portion of Site A. It's controlled by the Redevelopment Agency. The agency has completed remediations of the soils in 2009 and has commenced a pilot test of remediation of the site groundwater. And a portion of the site is occupied by the temporary police station through July 2011. The Site B exclusive negotiating rights agreement was approved by the agency in December 2004 when the agency selected Madison Marquette to redevelop the site. And this agreement obligates the agency to negotiate a disposition and development agreement, or DDA, for Site B exclusively with the developer. It's been amended 5 times since 2004 to extend the term, amend the project description, scope of development, and to allow more flexibility in the potential uses within the project. It assures the integration of the build-out of the undeveloped portion of Site A with Site B, and also, since entering into the ENR, the agency has been pursuing acquisition of the property. There's 5 parcels in Site B, and it's been an extended period of acquiring it through eminent domain actions. So we have not yet to have complete ownership of the site, although we've had access to it. In the same way, remediation is underway. It's not completed yet, and it will likely be completed in 2012. After acquisition is completed and remediation completed, that's when the parcel is available for disposition. Now, going to Site A, that's owned by Madison Marquette and LaSalle Investment Partners. It's currently developed as Bay Street, 310,000 square feet of retail, the 16-screen cinema, 379 residential units with 57 affordable units. There is a 1.9-acre undeveloped parcel at the north end of Bay Street. And the agency redeveloped the entire site, acquired the property, relocated the tenants, demolished improvements, and remediated the site. Entered into the disposition and development agreement with the developer in September 1999, completed the retail project in 2002, and the residential units were completed in 2006. The implementation agreements to the DDA set forth conditions governing agency assistance to Site A, as well as the schedule of performance for development. So there's been 14 implementation agreements that have been approved that refine the business terms related to payment for the property, affordable units in the project, toxic remediation costs, and the timing of the developer submitting a hotel developer to the agency for the agency's approval. And that's what we're going to be amending, we're proposing to amend this evening. So this map again shows you the location of these properties. Site B to the north, this is the undeveloped portion of Site A, and here is the entire Bay Street. Oops. Oh, it's doing wrong. As we presented at the study session, we are looking at a department store anchor proposal for the development of Site B and the undeveloped portion of Site A. It was Macy's department store, 180,000 square feet, 16,000 square feet of smaller retail, 121 hotel room, and 520 spaces of parking on 2 levels above the department store. Just wanted to emphasize that the project really is a regional retail project, so regional retail orientation. This is our land use map from the general plan, and the project's located in this area, which has been designated mixed use with residential and regional retail overlay. And I also wanted to call to your attention that there's separate neighborhood retail districts throughout Emeryville, which are indicated in the general plan by these starred sites in Park Avenue, San Pablo, up by the Watergate, and over by 65th Street. So our proposal is to amend the Site B exclusive negotiating rights agreement to provide a 2-year extension. During that period, we would complete the development and disposition agreement negotiation. The developer would seek and secure the hotel developer and operator, finish up negotiating with the department store, secure financing, and finalize the project design. During that same period, the developer would apply for and receive entitlements for the project. The project would undergo environmental review. We're also proposing to amend the Site A DDA implementation agreement to also provide a 2-year extension to the schedule of performance, and it's the part of the schedule of performance that governs the deadline for the developer to submit a hotel developer operator to the agency for the agency approval. And we do this to synchronize site planning of Site B and Site A so that the dates on which the ERN expires and the deadline for the developer to submit that hotel developer to the agency should be the same date. And so that adjustment is made in this amendment, this agreement. Just to review again briefly the community benefits from the project: elimination of blight, the deteriorated and derelict vacant industrial uses that were on these sites before development, also remediation of the toxic contamination on the site. The department store will anchor the north end of the center. We will see an increase in revenue to the city and agency, sales and hotel tax for the general fund, parking revenues for the general fund, a redevelopment property tax increment for capital projects. Job growth is estimated 270 jobs, and it will be creating a community gathering place. Now this slide shows the community benefits generated by the revenue from the project. The tax increment revenues are estimated to be at $420,000 annually. That's for capital projects that can be spent on community amenities, and that would support a $7 million bond. And the importance of that to the redevelopment agency is an example in the Park and Recreation Strategic Plan you're going to be considering shortly identifies costs for different parks that were identified in the general plan, and one of those is the PG&E Park property, and the cost of that one property is almost $37 million. So $7 million coming out of this project would pay for about 20% of that, which is an important piece. At the same time, the project generates tax increment for affordable housing. 20% of all the tax increment must be spent on affordable housing, so we're estimating here that would be $100,000 annually, or supporting a $1.7 million bond. The project will also generate significant general fund revenues, $1.25 million annually, and those general fund revenues can be spent on services throughout the city. And going back to the PG&E Park example, the operating costs identified in that strategic plan for that park are $300,000 a year. So it provides a source for these kind of improvements to be built in Emeryville. So that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions from the council, or shall we go into public comment? Thank you very much, Helen. First one, Judy Timmel. I'm going to read out 5 names, and if we can line up so that we have a orderly procession here. Judy Timmel, Berkeley Fuller, Faye Prince, Joe Cohen, and Richard Ambro. Judy.
Judy Timmel, resident. It was interesting to see under community benefits, tax revenues and an anchor for the Bay Street A. I have a different definition of community benefits, and just let me illustrate by saying that I was reading the development plan for the Hunters Point development in San Francisco, and I must say I started feeling envious of the folks in San Francisco because community benefits agreements are a standard part of a development agreement in that city. I was really amazed to see that in Hunters Point, Phase 1 includes, of the total 63 acres, 1,400 homes, 30% are affordable, 25 acres of the 63 are parks and open space, 9,000 feet are retail, including provision for locally serving businesses. I was envious, truthfully. I'm a part of Rural Residents Organization here, and we are just trying to get acknowledgement that residents have a right for a voice in processes like these. There has been a real lack of a voice of residents in this process. We are tired of seeing other cities getting benefits that we could have. We wouldn't need to push for a separate community benefits agreement if we could count on our city council and staff to have the backbone to really push for these things. No offense, but I'm really amazed that, and I'm afraid that we're being led down the garden path by a developer who for 6 years has had no plan for this project. In a recent article from the Public Citizen, it said, Eric Homan was quoted from Madison Marquette, "The city owns one of the best commercial properties in the entire East Bay, and interest is strong." So why do we think that there's only one developer who's going to be interested in this site? This is a prime piece of real estate. We're a prime location, and there are bound to be a number of developers interested in this site. Macy's is not opening stores. I think that's a myth. Their own representative said we have no plans to open stores. Let's get on the bandwagon, get a community benefits agreement, and get some return for our significant investment.
Thank you, Judy. Berkeley Fuller.
Good evening, all of you. I'll be short and sweet. I'm new to Emeryville, and that has disadvantages and advantages. I'm a reader. I'm a Harvard graduate. I'm an ex-corporate CEO of 3 different corporations. I think I'm reasonably smart. At least I never got fired. And in looking at this process, it concerns me. One thing does concern me: that the exclusivity of the developer. It concerns me. And I've been to a number of community meetings, including with the developer. Everybody's very articulate. There's been an incredible amount of work that's gone into all this. I acknowledge all that. The city council staff is amazing. For the town this size, I'm stunned at how good the staff is. It's interesting. But here's what I have to say. If we're going to continue extending the exclusive developer relationship because of all the momentum in that and all the legal agreements in that, I think the idea of the community benefits agreement being sponsored by the city council is brilliant because it's another check and balance on the whole process. It's inconvenient. Democracy is very inconvenient. Staff people and planners don't like democracy, and I understand that. My own staff always loathed it when we brought in more voices. But I think the exclusivity, which some people are kind of in a rabble-rousing way calling the monopoly offer, okay, well, you all heard that. The exclusivity, which may have advantages, I think needs to be balanced with community input that is parallel to and coordinated with the City Council. I just think it would be a very smart idea. I think it would change the process. I think it would be great political cover for the City Council, to be perfectly blunt. So that's just my proposal for all this thing. I think it should be looked at very seriously and adopted. I sat in a developer meeting, and the developer obviously was very articulate and very polite, but the representative obviously looked at the idea of a community benefits agreement as just another nightmare, time-consuming, profit-reducing hurdle. That was the impression I carried away. I don't think that should inform our decision. So that's what I have to say to all of you tonight. I like democracy. It's the worst form of government there ever was, except for everything else. And I'd like to see the checks and balances of a community benefits agreement. I think it's a brilliant win-win for everybody, and I think it might even make a better development. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Faye Prince.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council personnel. My name is Faye, and I've been a 30-year-plus resident of Emeryville. So I'm not coming here as someone out of touch with what's happening in the city. I stay very involved. As a resident, I'm concerned that we're dodging the issue of community benefits. I think what has happened, it's never been brought up before as a focal point. It's always been, we're going to do the best for our residents, but at no given time, I, as a resident, have a voice. What do I want to see as a community benefit? So my main issue is, let us know what community benefits are beneficial to me as a resident, and then that way the city can see what's beneficial to them, and if the two can equate. Rule members did have what we call the meet and greet with Madison Marquette, so we're not coming at them blind without sitting down to have a conversation. I'm concerned that if we keep closing up from having outside developers, we don't know what's out there. All I've been hearing is the economy is bad, there's no financing, et cetera, but there wasn't any movement when the economy was good and booming. But I'm of the opinion, how can we judge, other than the relationship the city has had with Madison Marquette, that there's not another developer out there with either broader ideas that could even increase the revenue, and maybe there isn't. But if we keep closing it off, at this point, there could have been 10 developers that had presented ideas and were told go away because we have this exclusive right with another developer. And I don't think that's right after all this period of time. Whatever you haven't come up with in this length of time, what is 2 more years going to give you, other than what may be written on a piece of paper? We have no confirmation of anything in writing. Everything is speculative, which is good, and ideas are good, but the residents are saying, involve us. Enough time has been wasted with not the communication coming back. I, as a resident, have no problems with Madison Marquette, but I do have a problem giving them another 2 years without us testing the waters to see what is out there. What do the residents want? The city is saying revenue, but not one time have I heard quality of life for us residents. What is Bay Street Extension going to do for us? We got a big project with Measure J being passed. We're trying to get new families in, but at the same time, we need to retain the families that we already have. And what are we presenting to the families we already have as far as jobs are concerned and our schools?
Thank you, Faye.
Okay.
Joe Cohen?
I'd like to see some kind of vision put into this. For years, we've heard about a potential Macy's or something like Nordstrom's and a few stores and a hotel. And this is, not so extraordinary. This is probably one of the most extraordinary pieces of land in the world right now, situated where it is. And I think if we put it out for bid to the whole world, in effect, we might get something a little more interesting, maybe something with vision. We don't have to be so hung up on the idea of these stores. Why not a convention center? Why not a concert hall? roller skating, I don't know, whatever. So I really think we should open it up and see what comes in. There's bound to be something out there that is very intriguing. Thank you.
Richard Ambrell. Richard, how are you?
Hi, I'm Richard Ambrose, a 25-year resident of Emeryville, and I'm opposed to the extension of the agreement with Madison Bay Street. I'm actually glad they haven't come up with any plan because I didn't like what they've done already with Site A. And we don't need more shopping mall thinking. We need new ideas. We need a new set of developers presenting new ideas, new concepts, new models for the site. I don't consider Bay Street part of Emeryville. I don't do anything except go to the movies there. I don't shop there. I don't entertain myself there. I don't walk around there. It's really, to me, it might as well be in San Leandro. I'd like to make that area part of Emeryville again. Have stores that Emeryvillians would be attracted to and shop at. Have places they could live, places they could work, and attract Emeryvillians, not people from the hills and out in the larger area. So I'm opposed to the extension of the agreement, and we need new thinking, new ideas, and a new project. Thank you.
Okay, the next 5 speakers will be Carmelita Cotton, Jeff Given, Chris Cohn, and Bob Cantor. Carmelita, come forward.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Carmelita Cotton. I live here in Emeryville for 7 years now, and I work at the Doubletree in Berkeley, Doubletree Hotel in Berkeley. And I'm here tonight because I hear that they're going to build a new hotel in Emeryville. I just want to ask the city council if there is any new hotel that built here. We want to make sure that that company let the workers to organize to become union, because it's very hard to work without union. We have that experience in Berkeley way back 12 years ago. So if there is any hotel, we want a labor base, because without union, there is no protection for the worker. And we don't want that happen in woodpin workers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carmelita. Jeff Given.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Given. I'm the general manager of the Courtyard by Marriott in Emeryville, across the street from Bay Street Mall. And I'm speaking in favor of extending the ENR. One would think that since the plan includes the development of a new competitor for my hotel, that I would be against it. However, I am in favor of it because I know that long-term, Emeryville is a very attractive destination geographically for business to be in this area. And if we can add to that a more of a leisure element that we already have quite a bit of at our hotels, busy on the weekends because of the Bay Street Mall. The hotel community is one of the highest paying tax communities that you have. We pay a transient occupancy tax of 12% as opposed to just 1% on retail sales. So anything that is good for hotels is good for Emeryville in that it, in a financial aspect, and will contribute more funds to the general fund. I've heard a lot of people come up talking about being concerned about community benefits, and there are many, many types of community benefits and lots of discussion and suggestions of new ideas like skating rinks. However, the most basic community benefit is fire and police and safety and clean streets. And from what I know, the city is starting to run out of money to be able to afford those things. So a development that can add greater tax revenue and can benefit the hotel industry and get that 12 times tax payment on the 12% occupancy tax would benefit the city and benefit the community in that it would fund the basic services that the city offers its citizens. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Chris Cohn.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Chris.
I hope you all got the letter that I wrote to each of you. I'm in favor of the 2-year extension. What's wrong with growth? What's wrong with trusting people who have a proven track record of success? I am the dean of students at a local college. The college brings in about 1,200 consumers to Emeryville every day. We're proud of Emeryville. We love Emeryville. We want to see growth. We want to see this city with its emphasis on art and new industries continue to grow and accommodate those industries. And I think Bay Street is cool. I enjoy going there. And I'd love to see an extension of that to continue to accommodate our visitors, hotel rooms to accommodate our visitors, and to accommodate our students, too. We have housing needs at our college, and we rely upon a lot of apartments and hotels in Emeryville to house our students. So there's a concern there. But as our students go through our curriculum, we tell them on the basics of ethics to make friendships with people that you can trust and whose performance that you can come to rely upon. Madison Marquette has had a performance we've come to rely upon. And to see what they've done, they've built, they've managed on a daily basis and how it's grown. It's a safe place. It's well laid out. I'd like to see that continue, and I hope that you would like to see that too. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chris.
Bob Cantor.
Thank you, Mayor Davis and council members. Bob Cantor, I'm the president and CEO of the Emeryville Chamber of Commerce. We've sent you at least one and perhaps several other communications with our position and our reasons for it on why we urge you to support the 2-year extension for Madison Marquette for this project. A couple points that have been brought up tonight that we'd like to just cover that weren't in our communication. First of all, several people have said, why don't we try to recruit some new developers and see what we can get? Well, you can do that if you want. But what you can't change is, number one, the economic circumstances of today. You cannot change the fact that the parcels are not actually have been completely acquired yet. I think there's at least one that's still in dispute, if I'm not mistaken. And the toxic remediation hasn't even been done. There's a lot of still stuff that's up in the air here, and to try to change partners in midstream with those uncertainties is not a wise course of action. Secondly, regarding the community development benefits, Helen summarized many of them. What she didn't talk about, and what we did talk about in one of our communications to you, is that in addition to the general tax fund revenue and the other amenities this project will bring, every single project in this town that is built, every single building, contributes money to our schools. It's an automatic check to the school district. It's called Measure A, 15 cents a square foot. That was not mentioned in Helen's report. Every single project that's built in this town contributes money to our Emeryville system. That's automatic because of the P-bid. You don't even have to have the building rented. That building's built and they get the permit for occupancy. That's a check for our Emeryville service. Every single building that's built, or most of them depending on the size, generates art for our public art and public places program. That wasn't mentioned. These benefits that we're getting aren't just general fund tax revenue for the city to support our police and fire and the streets and public works. We support our schools. We support transportation, not automobile transportation, and we support the arts. This project will do that. This partner has been with you from day one. They did submit a plan. You guys approved it, not a detailed plan. You submitted you had a competition. There were only three developers in the good days before the economy tanked. Only 3 developers were here in that 2004 presentation to you, and you picked the one you thought was the best. And they did submit a plan, at least a conceptual drawing plan, and that could be changed and with the times. But you did stick with them. They've stuck with you. They've stuck with this city. It's not time to turn your backs on them now. We urge you to support this. Thank you so much.
All right, we have 3 more speakers. Nishit Hedgie, Tracy Schroth, and Ruth Major.
Good evening. My name is Nishit Hegde. I'm with Unite Here Local 2850, the East Bay Hotel Workers Union. As a union, we've noticed that in the East Bay, hotel workers are working fewer and fewer hours because business is slow. Our economy is slow. There are very few indicators that things are getting better in the hospitality industry. So then why then build more hotels? Having more hotel rooms in stock will not bring in more business or more coveted TOTs. Rather, a new hotel will only take from existing business from current hotels, existing hotels, in the city of Emeryville. To speak to the larger issue at hand, however, Unite Here is concerned about the extension of the city's E&A with Madison Marquette. After 6 years, there's still no real plan. There have been no real movements by the developer to provide workers a free and fair way to join a union. No real movement to involve active community members in working towards community benefits. Over 400 people were surveyed in the city of Emeryville, and they wanted things like living wage and local hire, things that developers can provide. Don't reward this bad behavior by Madison Marquette with a 2-year extension for either Site B or Site A. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy Schroth.
Good evening. Okay, so we're not against development. I'm a member of Rural. I've lived in Emeryville for 7 years. We're not against development. We're not against generating revenue for police and fire. So let's talk about police and Bay Street. I think Ken James would be the first one to tell you that it's a wash. So they're paying for police, but they are requiring police a huge amount of manpower, woman power, to answer calls to Bay Street constantly. It's a relentless number of calls. And this we've gotten from Ken James, petty theft, I don't know what's going on, but maybe Ken James can vouch for this. So in terms of supporting the police, they should, because they're requiring a lot more police manpower than if they weren't there. We're not against Madison Marquette, really. What we are against is a developer and a city council that doesn't think about what the residents want. They don't think about quality of life. Someone here said that Bay Street is cool. Well, I don't know what kind of value that really has, that Bay Street is cool. But I'll tell you what MIG says. They're a premier urban design firm in Berkeley. They're nationally known. This is what they say about Bay Street Site A. It's abysmal. It fails on many different levels. It purports to be a main street with cars driving through it, but it's really a mall without a roof. There are no neighborhood-serving stores where the people who live there can shop, and the people who work there can't afford to live there. There are no parks. It is not an authentic neighborhood, and socially, it doesn't work. This is MIG speaking. It might be cool to some guy who has a business interest there, but it's not cool, and it doesn't work socially. There's nothing for the residents who live in Emeryville at Bay Street Site A, and we're concerned that Bay Street Site B isn't going to have anything for us. We talk about community benefits, a hotel, a mall. Come on. So all we're asking for is for Madison Marquette to sit down with the community. What is the harm in that? To find out what our interests are, what we care about, before we hand them one of the most valuable pieces of real estate in the East Bay, along with $50 million in taxpayer subsidies. You know, you talk about a partner. What kind of partner have they been? We've waited 6 years. Someone talked about switching partners midstream. What stream? You know, where's the stream? Where's the plan? Where's the detail? Where's the commitment to our city? I don't see it. There's no plan. In fact, this meeting has been canceled 4 or 5 times. So we try to get residents together to speak up, you know, to show up in force, to convey to you that it's not just a small handful of people that care about this issue. And then it's postponed 5 times.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Ms. Major. Ms. Major.
Good evening, everyone. I think pretty much everything's been said, so I'm just going to be very brief and just say 2004, no plan. 2005, no plan. 2006, no plan. 2007, no plan. 2008, no plan. 2009, no plan. 2010, no plan. Why are you giving or thinking about giving them an extension? Beats me. Thank you.
Please. Please refrain from any demonstrations, noisy demonstrations. We have 4 more people to speak. Andre, do you want to turn in a card?
Yeah.
Parissa Pameni, Brian Donahue, Chris Owens, Buzz Cardoza. Could you line up and start in? Parissa Pameni.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Parissa Paimani. I have been working in Emeryville since June 2000 and residing at the terraces since February of 2003. I'm here to oppose extension of the agreement with Madison Market. And again, I'm not against development, but I just don't understand why it can be opened to other developers. Since I came here, I saw the erection of that site, and I saw I was very excited to see something beautiful and magnificent happen, and perhaps back then I was very young and naive and didn't participate in this type of events and trusted the city council that they take the best interest of us in mind. And unfortunately, I saw the monstrosity to be built. Quite an unattractive site. It's concrete and more concrete and more concrete. There is no continuity between the commercial, retail space and the residential space. And I spoke with one of our reputable real estate agents in Emeryville, and he suggested that this place is basically a foreclosure heaven. And as a result of bad business, or what have you call it, a lot of us that are living and residing in Emeryville had been subject to not being able to refinance our place because of lowering the property thanks to that site. And there is no greenery. There is all the pots is in more concrete. The little grass that we have over there is a fake grass. So I just hope that you offer it to some other developer with a good taste and better judgment in terms of structural, architecture as well as landscape architecture. Thank you.
Thank you, Parissa. Brian Donahue. Please don't clap or make a demonstration. We have serious business here. Let's take care of it.
Okay, first of all, I would like to counter the speakers that have spoken to you tonight in favor of the ENA, positing that those that are against the 6th time that this be granted, somehow that those people are anti-development. Now, I have never heard anybody say anything about against development for the site. So I think that's just made up out of whole cloth. And I think that's just the standard argument to cast somebody that is trying to get more livability for our town as being anti-development, and I think that it's really unfair. So I disagree with Mr. Cantor from the Chamber of Commerce when he's castigating those who are trying to get a better deal here as being anti-development. I think he's being unfair. We heard today, we just heard Ms. Bean characterize Site B as it's going to be a community gathering space, and I think that's just a joke. It's laughable, and that's why I was laughing when she said it, because Site A has been not a community gathering space at all, even though it was sold to us as such 10 years ago. I remember I was in this very room when they told us that this was going to be a community gathering space for the residents. We're talking about Site A now. And we all know that that's not, in fact, the case. So, okay, the biggest reason why I think you should not say yes to this exclusive negotiating rights for this developer is because we have an emergency in Emeryville right now, and we need family-friendly housing here. And either on this site or elsewhere in the town, we need family-friendly housing. Other developers have expressed interest in the site, and at least one has agreed to enter into a community benefits agreement with the residents, and one of the CBA points that we have is more family-friendly housing and more funding for the schools. And that's a point right now that it's critical for the city. We need the housing for families to support the $400 million investment in the new schools that the voters passed on November 2nd. And so family-friendly housing is critical. We have a chance to get some more family-friendly housing if we open this up to a developer that's willing to enter into a CBA, Community Benefits Agreement. Madison Marquette has said no to that. They're not interested in a Community Benefits Agreement. And so the amount of funding we get for the schools is going to be much smaller than it could be, and additional funding for family-friendly housing is going to be much smaller than it could be. So I think it's really incumbent upon you to say yes to family-friendly housing and yes to better school funding. And so we need a developer that's amenable to a community benefits agreement, and Madison Marquette has said that they are not amenable to it. So I think it behooves you to say no to this and open it up.
Thank you, Mr.
to
Donahue. Your
developers.
time is up.
Thank you.
Chris Owens.
Hi, I'm Chris Owens, and I'm a 26-year resident of Emeryville. And I would like to go down memory lane a bit. Like 25 years ago, the Bay Street site was at that time with Pfizer Chemicals, Myers Drums, Ryerson Steel, and a multitude of other heavy industry sites that were totally polluting our land. So in the 80s, as the city was amending its general plan and trying to deal with the 750 acres that we have, which is all we have, and trying to find the highest and best use for properties, and looking at this particular site, which is bound by the freeway on one side and by the railroad track on the other side, which certainly doesn't necessarily make it attractive to housing, as those of us know that are living in those circumstances, decided this would be the site that we will designate as high-density retail. So the general plan was done. The city then went and spent a whole lot of money and a long time to acquire the sites, a lot of them with unwilling sellers, and to clean them up. And a lot of money was spent on that. Redevelopment funds, which needed to be repaid with a higher and better use. So that in the 90s, when the city went out for an RFP, several of the larger developers came in, and Madison Marquette was picked because they had an experience to do these type centers all over the country. And this particular one ended up being everything we wanted. It's a mix of retail, entertainment, restaurants, and residential. And it's, again, a matter of opinion, whether or not people like it or not. I like it a lot, and I sit there in that area, which is not green space, but they have very comfortable seatings. And I go to the movies there, I go to the restaurants there, and I shop there. Now, I realize it's upscale, but that's what we wanted. We wanted the maximum use and the maximum tax dollars, because we have 3 or 4 other sites that are locally serving retail for locals. And as we know, we did try to do a little locally serving retail on San Pablo that the city subsidized for years. That didn't work, cost a lot of money. So this, we needed to get our big tax dollars back. We needed to do this. And as to Site B, this was always the intent that it was part of Site A. There was never any question. But the city hasn't really quite acquired all of it yet, hasn't quite cleaned it up yet. So if you are going to go to another developer, say, what do you mean? Can you sell me the site? No, I don't own it yet, but I will. So
Thank you, Ms. Owens.
Thank you.
Buzz Cardozo.
Hi, my name is Buzz Cardozo. I've lived in Emeryville for about 10 years. And I think this protest is basically orchestrated by eBase, who put together this book about 1.5 years ago saying how Site B should be developed in a totally different way. Now, this is the same group that 8 years ago obtained signatures to get a referendum on the ballot to rescind the planned unit development agreement that the city had approved for the expansion of Pixar Studios. Pixar made it clear that such a rescission would have forced them to move from Emeryville, depriving the city of many jobs, substantial income for the city, and all donations and contributions they have made to the Emeryville public schools. Now, I think it's very important that you understand what their agenda is. their latest creation, Rule, or as I like to refer to them, the rulers, are pushing the same thing. It has nothing to do with making Emeryville a better community. It has to do with making their union in control of everything. That's my feeling.
Mr. Carpio.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is André Carpio. In 1962, when I came here the first couple of weeks, I went and shot a jackrabbit on site. I missed it, so I didn't get it. But I did remember how Emeryville looked like and how Emeryville looks like now. And we are moving forward. And what I'm saying is that I would like you to vote for the continuation, but I want to make it clear. This has been a long, steady relationship, and it must be some string attached. It was a great flirt, but no commitment so far. But we have to have a commitment, and this commitment is that the people who are in control of the market, they have to come up with something not like we would like to have a 74-story building that will make 10 kids per floor and get 700 students for Proposition G. No, that's not that. I don't think that's unrealistic. But I'm looking at something that will constitute a sure revenue for Emeryville. And I have mentioned that already many years ago. In fact, the first year we talked about it. And I said that we need to have in Emeryville a hub for international transportation, and we have the opportunity with the bullet train. So we have to have Madison Market. Reserve that for whatever they want to do, in which the priority would be so that Emeryville would be the center attraction for the bullet train for the Bay Area. We have billions of dollars here on a project that is going to have great priority. And if we don't stand and stay here, we have a piece of property here that is prime, that is at sea level, and that we can control the marine flow there for substation. Then we are going to miss the opportunity. Forget about everything else. Forget about the retail and all that. All that is talk, Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carpio. That concludes our speakers. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak to this issue? If not, we will move on to consideration by the council. Members of the council, who would like to go first? Jennifer?
I appreciate hearing eloquent speakers on both sides of the discussion tonight, and clearly over the last several iterations of the extension, there have been conversations about continuing. I have done a lot of research of my own, I guess, looking into this and trying to understand all the angles, looking at the original RFP in 2004. And my take on it briefly is just that 6 years is a long time, and it has taught us a lot here in Emeryville in terms of what is happening now. It's certainly a different world in 2010 than it was in 2004. We do know what Madison Marquette can do. I think what they created at Bay Street is a very good job of what Bay Street is. And the real question is, how does that serve us? It serves the region very well. In my new graduate program that I attend, when I say I'm from Emeryville, everyone knows IKEA and Bay Street, so it's done a good job that way. We have experienced it. It's not a community gathering place, in my opinion. This site is clearly very valuable, and I think that's why there's so many emotions and opinions about that. And it is one of the few left in the East Bay with this terrific location. I personally am not convinced of the anchor department store, although I've been told research shows department stores greatly benefit other small retail. And maybe my experience is different from the average American in that sense. I believe that I would welcome Madison Marquette to submit a bid, but I think that we should open this up to see what other possibilities are there in terms of innovation and creativity, in terms of looking for what is truly best for our city. And that's just a conversation that I think we need to have. Since I've joined the council, I feel like there are a lot of things that continue to go the way they always have been, and it's, in my opinion, a great opportunity to look at new thinking in that sense.
Ruth.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for coming and speaking tonight. I know it takes a lot to get yourself out on a dark winter night to come and express your thoughts, so I appreciate everybody who came, and whether or not you spoke or not. I have a couple of comments. I could go on for a long time because this really entails a deeper conversation than a redevelopment agency meeting, is conducive to. But there were some talks about what the benefits that currently exist under existing projects and proposed projects, and I just wanted to mention some other things. The chamber exec added a few benefits. I want to talk about some other benefits that don't hit the public radar. Madison Marquette is a multi-year major contributor to the Emory Ed Fund. They've been a multi-year host for the Emeryville Celebration of the Arts. They have featured local youth artwork. They've done an animation film festival for 3 years. They've done One Warm Coat to collect coats in the winter. They've done various fundraisers and blood drives. They've done festivals, tree lighting, summer concerts, spring festivals, fall festivals. They've hosted the Alameda Food Bank for the last 5 years. These are community benefits. This is providing a venue for valuable services, and I dare say that most of the people sitting in this room were unaware of that, of their list of how they've contributed to the community. So I do feel like this term of a CBA is open to wide interpretation, and whatever the tactics are to get corporate citizens to participate, I'll just say that I think that Madison Marquette has stepped up to the plate as a corporate citizen in this community. Maybe there are people sitting here who don't like that list, and that's your right not to like the list of the ways they've given to the community, but they have given to the community. So then the question becomes, it's not, to me the question then, there's a lot of issues here, which I can't really give full credence into right now on the dais. But competition for this site happened in 2004. The city council at that time made a decision. You're asking the city council that has a different composition now to undo that decision. We'll see if that happens or not. The length of time where nothing has happened has been a source of consternation amongst people. And what I want to say is that part of the length of time isn't just on their inability to cobble together a deal. There are a lot of factors there, including the fact that we've had extensive legal issues around acquiring the site and cleaning it up. And so the delay is as much on the city's part as on the prospective developer's part. And lastly, the question is, in terms of giving to the community, do you want a relationship where people give freely? Like, or whether you want to kind of wring their hands and tie their hands. Now, this is one agency member that likes employing both strategies at the right time. And I do think that whoever ends up developing Site B, the place for some arm twisting is under conditions of approval. And where we can say certain things that we want to have happen. It's not necessarily if we open up the competition anew and start over again, but it's like, what do we put into the conditions of approval that give us what we want? So, for example, I'm a dues-paying union member. I think it's I support unions. I recently was part of a successful union organizing drive in my workplace. I was unrepresented prior to then. I think it is very appropriate for a city government to put into the conditions of approval non-interference with the workers' right to organize and using card check. And we signed interest cards. I mean, basically, in my workplace, we used a card check procedure. We signed interest cards. They were counted against the membership. When we got a certain threshold, it was laborious, but over a couple of years, we got a union. So I think that's a place. Conditions of approval is where I think the community should hold the city council to task about what we want a developer to do.
Thank you. Councilmember Bukowski.
Okay. Well, I think this is a very interesting issue. I think the large crowd is actually union-driven. I mean, let's face it. Why this developer had a hotel that wasn't a union. So you guys said, well, we're going to picket and protest, and we're not going to let you build it. We had all these issues at the Woodfin Hotel. Well, why would a hotel open in the city when you have all these issues at the Woodfin? It really wasn't a good environment. I mean, these folks have come in here, and they have tried to convince people that this city government is not serving them. I mean, okay, you don't like Madison Marquette. Do you really know what we're getting? I think Councilmember Atkin was right on target. She explained all these benefits. Of it, most people here didn't even know about that. So you don't like what we're getting, but you don't know what we're getting. I mean, I think that's not right. I mean, these folks have done everything the city has asked them to do. Every single thing the city has asked them to do. They're not doing what you want them to do, they're doing what we asked them to do. So if they enter an agreement with you, then they'll be doing what you asked them to do, and we wouldn't even have a role. So I think the community benefit agreement undercuts the role of the city council. That's what we're here for. If you don't like what we're doing, then you should replace us. I mean, you know, Mr. Donahue talks about more funding for the city schools. So if we have this emergency for family-friendly housing and we put it there, how are we going to get more funding for the school? It's business that provides money for the school, not family-friendly housing. They built housing over there. If you wanted to build more housing, we can make it family-friendly. Why not? I mean, why did we have an emergency? You didn't even support the new school bond measure, and now we got an emergency for it. I think that's interesting.
Any further comments, Ken?
Oh, yeah, the question of we need a union. You know, you don't need a union anymore because you have Measure C. And what is Measure C? Measure C that means that 3 members of this council can tell a private employer how much to pay workers in the environment, whatever their tasks are. So we have an ordinance that says you will pay hotel housekeepers a certain amount of money. So the city council can determine what the wages are in any business. That's a precedent. That's what the Woodfin battle was really about. They were saying you couldn't tell us how much to pay our hotel workers, and the court said we could. So we have the power to regulate that. So you don't have to really worry about the union being there because the city council can do that. So I would support the extension. Thank you.
Councilmember Brinkman.
Well, first off, I too would like to thank everybody for coming out. And the way I look at this site, it's owned by the taxpayers of Emeryville. This is something that should benefit the taxpayers of Emeryville. It's a partnership between everybody that lives here. It's a partnership between the workers. It's a partnership between Madison, Marquette, and it's a partnership with the city council. So my concern is I have a problem going 2 years. I think that I would prefer that this be a 1-year extension because I like to hear, as a partner, what my partner is doing out there to develop that site. Also, I don't have the fears that other members here to my right have about the unions. I think that we have to get to the point where we benefit everybody in the city. There's a lot of people in the city that would need those good jobs, good union jobs in this town. So I will not support the 2-year. I would support a 1-year extension. So.
Anything further, Kurt? I, too, would like to thank everyone on both sides of the issue who have turned out tonight. This is a serious issue. Concerns have been raised by eBase and Rule about the Madison Marquette project. I'd like to say that I think some really inaccurate information has been put out by these entities. And I'd like to address a statement that one person came forward and said about no action year after year after year. That person, and perhaps the other people who are of similar mind, have not done their homework. They do not understand that year after year, this city, this redevelopment agency, has been working on acquiring the parcels, on remediating the parcels, on working with the agencies like the toxic DTSC, water quality people. This is an enormously involved site. So that's the first thing. Just because people don't send out weekly bulletins about the amount and complexity of the work that's going on in this site, it is absolutely inaccurate to say that nothing has been done. It is absolutely inaccurate to say that there is no plan on Site A and Site B. All it takes is going into the city webpage or the planning department and seeing the conceptual plans that are in there for Site A and Site B. So I want to address those misconceptions and also the continuing barrage on the part of Rule and eBase to undermine confidence in the people who are duly elected, your representatives that are sitting up here. We have many differences of opinion, but I do not believe there is anyone sitting on this council that is working against the people in the city of Emeryville. And I'd like to talk a little bit about this whole issue of community benefits. In my mind, the first community benefit that any development brings to this town is to strengthen our tax base so that our general fund has the ability to provide for police, fire, and public works. They are the basic community benefits. And when people ignore those basic financial commitments and requirements on the part of a city and go off into Never Land about other community benefits, I believe that the people on this council, these 5 people up here, absolutely understand the necessity to have a strong general fund, a strong financial underpinning to this city. So that being said, I think that drove the whole thing with the original Madison Marquette decision. Bruce, did you want to interrupt me? Go ahead.
I just have a question because I wasn't around when Site A, the decisions around Site A was made. So wasn't that process longer than 6 years? I mean, that's a question.
Patrick wasn't here either, so, well, yes, you were very involved in it.
Site A took about 10 years.
10 years.
Right. Right.
So this is not out of the range of how long it takes to cobble together something.
And going back to that, and I don't want to dwell on this, but all we have to do is look to surrounding cities. The city of Oakland and how they have tried to develop West Oakland, developer after developer, fallen by the wayside. The city of Alameda now engaged in what is going to be a horrendous lawsuit because they have backed away from their developer. This is a serious council here. We take our duties very, very seriously. So the attacks will continue, I'm sure. But I want you to know that from my particular perspective, you are well served by the people on this council. I'd like to also go into the whole idea of going out for another developer at this point in time. The original concept saw that Site A and Site B as one site together. And to come forward and to say, this is a time we want original ideas. Folks, you've got to get serious. If you want to have an economic basis in your regional retail, you are going to have one unit here. You can't have the Bay Street and then some ditzy little thing on this. What's the acreage on that, Patrick? 3 acres. We have to get serious here. Obviously, I am for the continuation of working with Bay Street. They have a proven record in the worst recession since the Great Depression, which I remember and you guys don't, but since that, in the worst recession we have had, Bay Street has not only maintained but improved and continued to attract. We have a proven, this city, the agency in the city, everybody in this city has a proven business partner. And for eBase and Rural to come forward and say, oh no, they may have done a good job, but I don't like walking around in their mall. Nobody says you have to. What we really want is, and I agree with Brian Donahue, which I don't much, I do not think this is a community gathering place. It's a regional retail center, for God's sake. So I don't have to beat this to death much more. I am in favor of a 2-year extension, and Kurt, I would like to encourage you to reconsider the 2-year extension, and I'll tell you why. I think it's perfectly appropriate to ask for Bay Street to come forward on a monthly basis with reporting and letting us know exactly how we're moving forward. But 1 year in this economic climate is not enough.
Well,
I wish you'd reconsider.
My concern is, as I said, is as a partner, I don't feel like we're hearing from the partner, and I don't believe the residents feel like they're hearing from our partner in the development of Bay Street. So
would you amend it if you had...
Well, I want to make sure that our partner would be willing to report back to us on maybe a quarterly basis, but this dialogue has to open up, and the residents have to feel like it's two-way dialogue.
I'm not interested in quarterly. I'm interested in a monthly feedback here. Are you authorized to say that you would do that? Yeah. Who are you, sir? Step up and tell us what your name is. Don't trip, please.
Cedric Yell.
Of God.
Development with Madison Marquette.
And you will commit to monthly reports to this council?
Monthly reports to the council.
On the progress. Do I hear a motion on this item?
I would move the 2-year agreement, but I want to make a point here. It's not about communicating to the council, it's about communicating to the residents. I mean, communicating to the council isn't what these folks want. They want to be communicated with. So maybe you can do, a semi-annual thing to the residents and keep them informed.
Yes, I mean, when we have a project, we said we would engage the community once we have a project plan in place.
Right, so I move the 2-year agreement, Brandon.
I hear a second on that.
Can I just clarify what you mean when you have a project plan in place? What's the timeline for that exactly?
Within the 2 years. Well,
so the reporting would begin then, or
no, we would have, we would probably give a progress report on a
That's what I'm asking for, at least a biannual.
We need a commitment. As I said, you are a partner. This is a taxpayer-funded development, and the residents need to know, and the workers need to know. So,
and Mr. O'Keefe, what I'm looking for in the next 2 years is a monthly agenda item with a report from Bay Street.
Yes, we can do that.
Thank you.
So I want to be clear that the motion is for both resolutions or just one?
Both resolutions and for the monthly report.
All right, do I hear a second on these resolutions?
Kurt, do you want to do a substitute?
Well, let's go back to the motions one time.
Okay. I would move both of the agreements, and I would say that we wanted the monthly reporting to the City Council, and we want a semi-annual report to the residents, progress report to the residents.
I would second that.
Call the roll on the first resolution.
I move both of them.
I'm calling the roll separately on the first resolution, Ken.
Okay.
Yeah, then the motion has to be separated.
Then,
Both motions are seconded, right?
of course.
All right. Move ahead.
So we're going to call a roll on both of them, right?
We're going to call the roll on the first resolution.
And then the motion has to be for only one resolution.
No, you moved two resolutions. We can call the roll separately.
I actually want, since Kurt isn't going to do this, I want to make a substitute motion, which is that the first resolution extends the ERN for 1 year, and then all the other additions about the progress reports be included.
Based upon what Mass and Marquette just said about the 2-year with the reporting, I would be fine with the 2-year.
Okay. So the substitute dies for lack of a second.
Call the roll on the first motion.
Okay, Agency Member Atkin.
Aye.
Agency Member Brinkman.
Aye.
Agency Member Bukowski.
Aye.
Vice Chair West. And Chair Davis.
Aye. Thank you very much, everyone who came today to speak on this.
First?
Second, okay, go ahead.
Okay, the second one, Agency Member Atkin.
Aye.
Agency Member Brinkman.
Aye.
Agency Member Bukowski.
Aye.
Vice Chair West. And Chair Davis.
Aye. Okay, moving along.